Line, running route to the 40, breaks into the 50, 8 to the 40, 8 to the 30, to the 20, to the 10, to the 5, touchdown.
All right. So we are here with Malcolm Gardner, who is a gentleman that I've got to know through some the Once a Cowboy, Always a Cowboy podcast, and had the opportunity to kind of learn some Chaney history from him. And so as we start the One More Down podcast, we thought that he would be a great representative for some of the Chaney aspect and then the city aspect in general. And, as always, we just start off with, Malcolm, if you would give us a little bit of your background, a little bit of your history. We'll just kind of go from there. If you could tell us a little bit about where you started and how you came up.
Malcolm Gardner, born in Warren, Ohio, California kid for a little while, came back to Ohio in second grade. Started off in Struthers for a year, and then we moved to the east side in West Elementary, Volney, Chaney, and played football for the East Side Little Broncos from '83 until I was in sixth grade, and then went on to Volney to play.
Well, I'm excited to have you on as a guest. You were a teammate of mine from 90, 91 and 92. So, I was able to see your development over those years. And, it's good to see you and get to talk to you for a few moments after all these years apart. And, I'm interested to hear that story and that rise, living on the east side, but going to school through all the Chaney feeder systems. So I'm excited to hear this story about who Malcolm Gardner is.
I appreciate it. I guess you'd call it a feeder system because especially when we're doing Once a Cowboy, Always a Cowboy, a lot of the names that we mentioned above us, Mike Billy, Jason Benson, even Hennessy and those type of guys, I played against them when they played for the Patriots. The Broncos would always schedule scrimmages against the Patriots. And then going to West, I would play against the West Side Bears, the West Side 49ers. So I played against Sylvester, DeMond, Ferguson's, and these people, the Magers, and we're going to school together. Paige Markland, all these people. We're going to school together, but I'm from the east side. They're from the west side. And, that little, not even rivalry, we were just talking crap because the Broncos will come beat you, but I got to come to school, so I get to rub it in y'all face. That was interesting times, to say the least.
What was your introduction to football? How did you kind of come into that experience? Was it a family thing? Did you just have a passion for it?
It's a family thing. My mom and them, they're from Warren. So growing up, all my uncles graduating in 75, 77, 80, they're all playing for the Warren G. Harding Panthers. I got cousins that played for Warren Western Reserve Raiders. Growing up, I thought I was going to be a Warren G. Harding Panther. Look, I'm putting my uncle's helmets on. My first football game I ever remember, so it had to be 79, was Garcia Lane and South playing Harding and them beating Harding. That was my first football game. And this is when Harding, the mystique of the Panthers, and the stadium was huge. The lights are bright, and hearing the band and everything. That was my first memory of football. I want to play this. Then my second one was I had a family friend that lived right behind South High School, the Fort family. Going over their house, and here in South playing during those Friday night games, so family things. My one uncle, he went on to walk on at USC. Him and Joey Browner were good friends. Joey Browner got him a walk on, played, tore his knee up, he was out. My youngest uncle, Dwayne Jones, ended up going to the University of Wyoming, played in the Holiday Bowl 2-3 years in a row, played NFL Europe, was signed to the Browns for a while. So it was always a family thing. And then friends around the neighborhood who played, that influenced me also.
So you said you had you were from Warren, went out to California. Was your family, did they connect to USC from out there or from locally here?
Locally here. Said Joey Browner was already out there, and him and my uncle were friends growing up. And Joey Browner got him USC's talking to Joey Browner, and he's out there suiting up, and he's like, "Hey, this is a dude that's y'all need to go look at." And my uncle went out there, did a try on, got the, this is that Ronnie Lott backfield. All of them were out there, got in there. John Robinson, like, oh, I like what I see, signed him up, tore the knee up, like maybe 3 months into it.
So, can you explain a little bit of that east side to west side pipeline? Because you grew up on Liberty Road.
Yes, I did. Right by McKelvey Lake, and not even 2 blocks from North Junior High School.
So what was the reason why you fed into the West Side school versus just going to the local neighborhood schools out in that area at the time?
So I want to say this was probably about 1980 or so. They closed Thornhill Elementary School, which would have been the Sharon Line, Upper East Side area's elementary. And a couple parents filed suit to integrate the school system pretty much. So they took everybody who was on the Sharon Line, that's Liberty Road and up, all the way to Coatesville, all the way to the Camel Line, all the way to the Hubbard, Trumbull County line. You all went to West. You went to West, you went to Volney. Now, you had a choice. You could go to Mary Haddow or John White on the east side, but it was your parents' responsibility to get you to school if you did that. Same thing with North. You didn't have to go to Volney, but if you went to North, you had to walk. It was your responsibility to get there. However, I can say now, looking back, they were looking at it as, okay, a lot of these families out here are 2-parent households or have been, a nuclear family, and we'll try to feed them into integrating these schools over here. That's how I see it now.
And then, so, having that experience going to school on the West Side, from those elementary ages, and then progressing through what would be elementary, junior high, and into Chaney for high school, were you able to stay connected to your East Side neighborhood friends?
Oh, yes, because, even after football practice at Volney or Chaney, I'm still coming back to the neighborhood, the McGuffey Center. We're going up there to play basketball. The McGuffey Mall, you're going down there to the Foot Locker. And that was like the only store that was in there, and my first 2 years at Chaney, we had to ride the city bus to school. So you're riding the city bus, you're seeing people from East, they're on the bus, but they're getting off at Bennington and then walking down the East, or they're going all the way down to the bus station, then catching Albert Street to get dropped off closer to East. So you're still integrating with these kids. And then in Little League, as I said, I played Little League on the East Side. So yeah, I go to school on the West Side, but my summer and spring break or holiday breaks is all on the East Side. I didn't start going to the West Side, to visit friends until I was about 6th or 7th grade.
So let me circle back and this. I don't want to get too far in the weeds of it.
Yeah, you're
We can
fine.
even cut this out if we want to. I just find it very interesting because you even sent this to me on Instagram talking about, the Rachel Brown's transfer and how this all started. And so about 1980, this happens. And so you were saying that, were you guys in your neighborhood not forced, but like that, the West Elementary was your your school of district?
Yes, that was your school of district.
And so they would come up with transportation for you to go over there,
The yellow bus.
but they would not to go to like Mary Haddo or
Nope, John White. It was your parents' responsibility if you decided not to go to West. So if you went to what's the Mount Calvary, anything like that, like Mount Calvary had their own yellow bus from the east side that would take them over there. But John White or Mary Haddow, which were the closest schools to us, that your parents' responsibility because you're supposed to go to West because they wanted that influx, that balance.
And so it wasn't even like you could opt in. It was like, hey, you need to opt out.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting.
I mean, you name it. Anybody from Jacobs Road, from McKelvey Lake all the way to Hubbard, and in between, you went to West. Everybody.
Wow.
But you did have some that opt out and went to Mary Haddow. I had friends that went to Mary Haddow, and we lived like two doors down from each other.
How long was that bus ride in the morning?
Oh man, you're leaving at 6:45, 7 o'clock. Getting to school about 7:30.
Wow.
And then we start picking up kids. Oh, but remember Youngstown City School started the gifted program?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So then we start picking up kids down by the Kimmel Brooks, kids up by Madison, kids right there by what's that freeway? MLK. We pick up a group of kids from there, and then we go on to West because that's where the gifted program was. So it went even further by the time the gifted program opened up.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that. And so that was because of, and I remember you saying this, and that was because of kind of a lawsuit that took place in terms of to make that happen. But they didn't do it. They didn't do it district wide. They just did pockets.
Just us.
Wow.
To my knowledge, they didn't do that anywhere else. If you were on the south side, you went to whatever school you were districted to. But the Sharon Line kids, once they closed that Thornhill Elementary, y'all going to the West. Y'all going to West Elementary.
Wow.
Because they closed West. I mean, they closed Washington. They closed Washington at the bottom of the West Side. And those kids all went to West, and we went to West with them.
Okay.
Now, your first ventures into football, playing for the Little Broncos under Coach Ford and Coach Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did you always start out at that running back position?
No. I was a guard, center, middle linebacker. The kids that were my quarterback in Little League was Darnell Bracey, who went to East and did some nice things, and went to YSU, did some nice things. The running back, his name was Antoine Bubba Howe. Bubba probably was 5'6". We 90 pounders. Bubba all of 90 pounds, if not 95. So we just had a big bowling ball for a running back. And hey, I was a guard. I was a center. I didn't mind getting my hands dirty. I played middle linebacker. Charles Purdue was on that team. He was a free safety. Jerry Howe was a corner on that team. Bill Craven, who ended up going to Wilson, starting at center, he was on that team with me. We had a good squad. A couple other people, Tywan Tillis, he ended up going to Rand as a running back. He was a flanker on that team, but I had my hand in the dirt, grinding.
Hey,
So
let me
so
ask
when
you
do
guys a
you?
question.
Oh, I'm
Can I
sorry.
ask a
Go ahead.
question here?
Yeah.
So, like I think for me, Ron has said this. He said this in like the Cowboy podcast. He's talked about Mark Heron. You've talked about playing really different positions. And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, just kind of listening to you guys talk, I think that probably gave you a different experience and maybe a different mentality having played different spots to when you eventually fill into your position of being a tailback, a skill guy. Like that probably enhances you a little bit.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
for me, I was, growing up, I'm a lineman, but
Okay.
I'm playing, you know, playing rough and tumble and chasing guys around and being a little bit more athletic. So it's like because I didn't play the little league because I was too big. Do
Okay.
you feel like that helped you kind of in your development to come up from a different standpoint and then you fit into your natural position as you got older?
So, yes and no. Yes, in the fact that playing middle linebacker, look, there is no you came back up. Go get the ball, take on the guard, pull, whatever it is. You're going to get this. But as a lineman, I still would play fullback also. They need a blocking fullback. Okay, you play fullback, you play guard, you play center. Um, I just feel it allowed me to know a lot more about football at a young age, and not just I'm used to I'm gonna take this sweep, I'm good. Not
Mm-hmm.
understanding how to, hey, I need you to block on this side, block him down, and learning how to put position your body to take on blocks or to block a person. That was a good thing to learn. Even though in high school I didn't want to be an outside linebacker and take on blocks.
I know, that experience when you first come into those little league system, a lot of getting forced to the line positions or tight end positions. It's generally based on the fact that you're like a first year player and
Yes.
you're inexperienced because, those coaches at that level, they trust those veteran players that have at
Yeah.
least been through it for one cycle. And
Mm-hmm.
then, you got to remember, we're talking about the 1980s in Youngstown. So when you show up to play for these organizations, it's not the 20 or so kids like it is today. There's 50, 60, 70
Oh
kids
yeah.
in your age
Oh
group.
yeah.
And there's kids that they might not get their first play on the field until maybe the last game of the season because there's just that
Mm-hmm.
many kids.
Definitely, especially for the Broncos. We were a new team. There was no team on the east side. The McGuffey Bulldogs are gone, and Pearl Street Mission is gone. So the Broncos were the only team on the east side. We had so many kids. Half of the 90 pounders had to if you were a big 90 pounder, they made you play up on the 105s just so they would have enough kids. And then like the big team, like Dallas, my big team backfield was Steve Woodbury, Matt Gilchrist, and Curtis Fitzgerald for the Broncos. Like they were like superstars to me. Like, oh man, Matt used to have to run around the field, with the hefty bag, don't play to the third, fourth quarter, and the teams we were playing, the Braves had Tanker and the Sons of Thunder had James Payne, who, did some things at Rand. The Warriors had one team. It was who you were playing against pushed you, but having all those kids, you better come to play, because if you don't come to play, you're not going to play at all.
Right.
For real. Practice was hard, and my first league was the Volney Rogers League. We were there 2 years, playing the Suns, the Braves, the Penguins, the Warriors. The McGuffey Bulldogs had a little league team. The Buckeye Elks occasionally had a team if the people showed up that Saturday to play. The Boys Club. And then the next year, my second year, we moved to what would be called the Mid-American Conference, which had the Hard Hats, the Redmen, Falcons, Colts, Alliance Aviators, Howland, Warren Browns, Warren Eagles. So we did a little bit of traveling now, and that just even opened my eyes even more. The Knights, like, oh man, this is fun to travel to these places to go play these people. We didn't win every game, but you learned a lot about the game of football, because I had never seen the wing tee until we played Austintown. I'm like, what is this? And this is Little League. It was fun. You learned a lot. You really had to learn a lot on the fly too.
So when do you move to that running back position?
I'm on the 105s. I'm playing guard and fullback. Depends on who come to the games. So
Okay.
our normal fullback is Jason Jennings. Jason Jennings from Rand and Ursuline fame. I think he got in trouble or something. His mom ain't let him come to a couple games, so they was like, "Hey, go to fullback. Look, I got 55 playing fullback. I get some runs, But he come back. Hey, I'm gonna go back to guard, And then I get to the big team. They're like, we're gonna have you at tight end, tackle. We're gonna have you at fullback. You playing linebacker, outside backer, DN. Truly, I've been the same height since I was in 6th grade, man. So I was like a big 120 kid. I wasn't, weight wise, but I was just tall, big. So, I'm better off as a lineman. It helps them. And I didn't have a problem with it.
And like that's what I mean. What I guess I was kind of asking about before. It's one of those things where you play so many different positions. It really teaches you to be an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't just teach you to be like a specialist. Like and you said it. I'm going to run the ball. Well, you blocked all these guys, so you know what a gap down is and how to cut off of that.
Yes.
Right. And what can go right and what can go wrong.
I can definitely say, so junior high is when it was like all running back DB. We're not even going to do lineman because I'm too small now, I guess you would say. I could outrun people and I probably could shake people in the hole, but my main thing was I'm going to put my foot in the dirt and I'm going to cut, because you're going to overrun this. I'm going to cut and then I'm gone. It allowed me, even as a DB, to understand, I'm coming up fast, but come under control, be squared up. Don't be, turning sideways or anything like that. And that all comes from being a lineman and being a linebacker at a young age, because, certain teams, you had to figure out how to get through them. I wasn't bullying everybody over, but if especially Austintown back then, you're running the wing tee, man. I'm like this. Oh, just run to the guard's butt. I learned that in Little League. So when getting to junior high and Chaney and hearing them talking to the linebackers, I'm like, I learned that. I learned that a long time ago. But I understood a lot about angles and where to be at the correct time.
Well, one of the things that I definitely remember about you as a back, you always had really great acceleration and you had really good change of direction. You always, nobody ever had to teach you to run with your pads down, because you had a nice low center of gravity. You never played high, given your time of coming up to varsity with us, 91, 92, you have Sylvester Patton there. So, in a sense, you're kind of his understudy. What would you say about his style of play at that time compared to the style that you played and what you developed into?
Sylvester like contact. Sylvester like contact. Look, if I had to lower my shoulder, okay. But I'm trying to hit it and get outside. Sylvester liked contact, and he ran so hard, man. And whereas me, look, I'm gonna run you over, but look, after there's two people on me, look, hey, let's go ahead and wrap this up. I don't need to take no big hits from the safety coming up blasting me. The difference between me, Sylvester, and even me and Pat Grosson, who was also there, was me and Pat were trying to get outside. Whereas Sylvester was, he gonna get you that. If you need a yard and a half, Sylvester probably getting you 4. Whereas I'm gonna get you the yard and a half, but if I get an opening, I'm gonna get you 15. That was where my mindset was, and especially running against you guys on the scout team. Of course, you better learn to run low. I'm not letting Mark Heron mistletoe me off my feet, or you coming from the side, or Big Kenyon clotheslining you. Nah, it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening. I'd be on the sideline and see them hit somebody in the game, like, oh man, I know that hurt. But you have to know how to run, to protect yourself also.
Now, in saying that, the one thing about our program, it was that team concept is always at the forefront of everything that we did as players. It was always what Coach Burgess preached. I'm sure it was the same when you coached there, Dallas, that, it's team first. Every man do their job. You're playing for a certain goal, a certain purpose. And, I can honestly say that about you. You were truly a team guy and a program guy because, at various points in your career, especially when you have a certain level of talent, sometimes it's hard to sit back and wait your turn or wait for your opportunity. But when I think about you during that time, like you were always team first. You were never a guy that was saying, I should be in there over this guy, or, why is such and such playing over me? You waited patiently for your opportunities. When we were out there on special teams together, you always gave full effort and you were really, truly about the team. So, every team has to have its stars, its starters, and its reliable players, but you can't have that team success without those other guys that are, doing whatever it takes to, move the team goals forward. So I understand in the pecking order, why your rise was late. It definitely wasn't because you did not have the talent to be out there with us, but it was just a pay your dues system, an experience backlog of juniors and seniors ahead of you. But as you make your rise up to varsity and you become that, you're competing for that starting job your senior year. What are you thinking about going into 93 in terms of your place and role on the team?
All right, you were talking about that team concept. So I was really happy. Like when Mark ran a punt return back, I'm happy because I know I threw a great block on there or a good kick return. I'm a gunner on punt cover or even on kickoff. I'm a gunner. Let me get down there, create some havoc, because if I take one or two dudes out, that means somebody else could clean this up. That mindset really even came from Little League, because that's how Coach Floyd and them preached it. Yeah, the quarterback and the running back get the glory, but look, you the offensive lineman MVP 2 years in a row. Look, I got an MVP trophy too. So coming into my senior year, all you guys are gone. That means the whole secondary is gone. We got to replace the outside linebackers, really. The only thing we really got coming back is the 2 defensive tackles. Everything else is what it is. Running back wise, with me and Pat have been playing together since junior high. We always did 1-2, 1-2 anyway. So it wasn't like, oh man, if I ain't the starter, I'm just gonna be mad. It was like, all right, Pat, you got three plays. I might get 2, but if I get hot Or if if I ran it down to the 10, me and Pat had a deal. Like if you're inside the 10, man, you stay in and score. That was our deal. So coming into that year, I didn't care. Long as we winning, I don't care. We good. Let's win. Because that's more than anything. That's the bragging rights. Well, we made the playoffs 3 years in a row. We beat an all black team in Akron Buckle who had athletes from top to bottom. We won as a team. They had some great individual people, but we won as a team. And that's all I cared about. For real. That's all I cared about.
Do you think that like talking to these guys, that 1992 team, 91 team, and kind of knowing how it went with Chaney up till that point, right? It was tough sledding.
Yes, it was.
Up till 91, even 90 was that first city series was 5-5.
Yeah, I give 90 day props though. I do.
Yeah,
I
no.
Really
do. And I guess what I'm saying is like it wasn't. At some point, Chaney becomes the cream of the city.
Okay. Yes.
In 90, it was still like you're still kind of jockeying for position there, and that's when the tide sort of turns. Do you feel like your attitude and your perception of like, hey, team first, when you
You're
have
good. Don't worry.
in 92 a team laden group of guys that are just lights out, really talented, and they have that team first mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like that kind of set the tone and the culture for everybody after?
Let's even go back to eighth. It goes back a little bit. So in 8th grade, we're talking about being in this feeder program to the West Side schools.
Right.
8th grade is the year that if you live on the East Side, Sharon Line area, is your choice to either go to East or stay at Chaney. And I decided to stay at Chaney because we only lost one game in my 2 years at Volney, and I'm like, oh, we're going to be good. Now, I know Sylvester, but I'm not knowing Ron and Mark and all them that they're going to be at Chaney. So going to Chaney and playing was like, oh, okay, we're going to be good. I want to go where we're going to be good, where we're going to win at again. See, I want to win. That 90 team, watching, me knowing Mac and watching how hard he worked, and Jason Benson and them in practice are working, and seeing Mark and them and running them at practice. They're doing good at practice, but they're not the starters, but they're still doing good. I'm like, that win again. We're going to win. We're going to be good. And then their senior year and my junior year, I'm like, man, I don't care. You need me to be the gunner on the right? Okay, I'll be the gunner. You need me to block on punt block? It doesn't matter. I just want to win. And Coach Burtis and them, especially Coach Pope, stressed it to you. It ain't all about you. It ain't all about you. Burtis really didn't say it, but Pope, it ain't all about you. It's about us coming together and doing it together for us to win. Yes, if the line don't block, Sylvester don't get the yardage. If Orfino and Mager don't hike the ball back to Rick Good, we can't get a pass out 12x swing to get to Ron and Mark over the top. It was preached hard. This is a team. We had a lot of good people on that team that have quit at couple different times, and they always came back, but they quit. And I used to never understood why they would quit. Like, man, what you quitting for? Like, you playing. Yeah, but man, you playing. I don't care. But it was preached to you from Popio, especially, that this is a team sport. There's no I in team. They used to have that in the weight room in plastic, There's no I in team. You know what Kobe said. There's no I, but there's a me. But
Yeah, right.
Burtis, look, even then, Burtis
He
wasn't
didn't
gonna let
play
that
for
happen.
Burtis.
Look, you can't play for Burtis if you is this me. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. All right, if it's 4th and 2 and Sylvester say, hey, give me the ball. I want to run 4 counter. He like this. All right, because I know this is a good play for you. You know, I didn't have a problem with being taught team first. So even coming from Chaney and then going into the military, same thing. It's team first stuff. You know, yeah, you can rah about yourself, but if the rest of the team is falling behind or is not as good as you, what does it solve? You know, look, we played against Charles Purdue, Herman Benson, Tremaine Smith. These guys that Southeast, they was good. Everybody else wasn't. Everybody else's mentality wasn't, let me go clean this dude's clock so the back can get up the line and get to the second level, the third level to score. Mm-mm. And if these dudes came to Chaney, you'd be like this, ooh, looking at them in our mix and with our coaching, who knows what they could have been. Maybe they go to a bigger school for college, or maybe they develop their skills more. And that's not dissing who their coaches was. It's just, our fundamentals won us a lot of games.
Yeah.
And our conditioning. Fundamentals and conditioning won us a lot of games. Because that, especially Ron and them senior year, Buckle was way more talented than us. Athletically, I'm going to say. But our linemen knew how to move their hips and turn their body to get these big guys out the way so Sylvester can hit a crease. Ron and them knew how to position their body to get a good pass from Rick, even though this DB might be going to Michigan State or wherever they were going. Our fundamentals were better. And I don't know if that was Jerry O and Mike Zordich coming back in the summer, working us out and, having us do, the board work and all that type of stuff, that's stuff they're doing now. And I'm like, man, I remember doing that in 90, 91, 92 when Zordich and them were coming back from the NFL. And it was a teamwork. They didn't have to come back. They didn't. But they wanted to give back. They wanted to help.
So like going, your senior year, you guys are replacing a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
A lot of new faces at a lot of different, well, pretty much every position with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 guys who had gotten time. Carl Farina played on the line my senior year.
Yep.
Ferguson alternated at the tackle spot and played defensive tackle. Joe Davila was returning as a all-city defensive tackle and had to transition over to the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
But, receiver-wise, you had Dom Conti, who, he got some playing experience behind our group.
Mm-hmm.
And then, everybody else, for the most part, with the exception of Grossen, is a new face. So essentially, it's a new team.
Yes.
But the same rules, same expectations, same mentality. So, you going into 93 is your last run. You got some of your guys from your class back out with you. Kamani Berry's return. You got Ron Shad and Clyde Morgan starts coming into the fold. Steve Clinkscale is rising up off of that JV level.
Yes,
so you still have a lot of good people, a lot of good players that are ready to make that ascension. What do you think going into Fitch? After coming off 2 seasons of 9-1, a playoff appearance, a playoff win, and then an exit. How is that coming together during that summer going into that Fitch game?
All of us are thinking, oh man, this is like 8th grade again. We're all finally playing together again. And in that mix, you got to add Keith Swanson, Dan Crouch, Tony Luscree came back. And then along with Clinkscale coming up, Leroy Arrington. Then we got Nate Moncrief coming. Nate's what, 6'2.5", 250. It's just a matter of us putting it together. We're still confident that we can win and make the playoffs again. Not knowing what was looming right after the Fitch game. We come to the Fitch game. Great practice, great scrimmages, everything. We're like, yeah, we're going to be good. We're going to be cool. We're going to be cool. But, it's one thing about Chaney, and I don't know if this was going on with you, Dallas, back then, but once it rained, we ain't practicing in rain. Fitch game is a rainy day, and we're just sluggish in that high grass that Fitch keeps. We're just sluggish in the rain, and they get on top of us real quick. It wasn't nothing that we weren't used to, but this is the first time a lot of us are under the big lights, like and you can see it in some of the plays for that game, the shell shockness of I'm the big dog on the field now. First start for Ronnie Warga at quarterback. First start at Dom Conti and Tony Luscri and Kimani at receiver. I said, besides Farina on the O-line, everybody was new. That's Bill Burton, Jimmy, I forgot Jimmy's name. But Joe Davila at guard, Ferguson at tackle. Everybody's new. And what you do at JV really doesn't translate up to the varsity, especially a team like Fitch, who was well oiled, especially with that, that wing T offense, and sweep right, boot left, trap inside, but the D ends is getting sucked in and destroyed every time. So we just had a learning experience, and we lost 21-0.
Yeah, and I think at that time, if I remember correctly, you're coming off of 2 back-to-back wins against Fitch.
Yes.
Which is like the first time in 17 years that's happened. Mm-hmm. So they're probably all pissed off, full of piss and vinegar, ready to go, right? And that wing T at that time, especially against the 40 Reed, was extremely difficult to defend.
Yes.
Right? Because they threw in all those, those influence traps and different, they were just well oiled, so that as we've talked about many times, man, that's a tough opener.
It is a tough opener, but so you had Andre Turner at running back there. You had Bill Mentor at receiver, Sean Davis at tight end. I can see the fullback. I can't remember his name. He's a big guy, but he was a dog. Our biggest issue was these kids have been running this offense since Little League. they had it mastered down, and then not only do that Little League, you do it at junior high, and then you're doing it from 9th grade. Again, we run the 40, but what you do at that JV level is not the expectations at that varsity level. I said the lights, the crowd, everybody, you hear it all. It's just a matter of, okay, let me zone in and get this. And everybody was new. Even on the defense, the only 2 returners was Ferguson and Davila. Everybody else, this is our first start. And yeah, these are our friends, and we've known them and playing them for 5-6 years. But now you got both sidelines. You're like, oh man, there's a lot of people here. Oh my goodness. Look, the first play of the game was a kickoff. Look, as I said, it was a rainy day. I see the ball on the kickoff. It's coming in my hands, and raindrops it, blink, and I close my eyes. It shot right out my hands. I'm like this. How are we gonna start this way? But the next kickoff, I take it back to like our 37. So, it wasn't, it was just a matter of getting used to it, pretty much. And Burtis and them did a great job preparing us. It was under them lights that first time at Fitch for us to be starters, and that was it.
So you get that first game under you guys' belt. it's a loss. You're anticipating, we'll bounce back going into Camel,
Yes.
but then you're hit with a strike. How does that
Oh man.
affect the team's mental capacity when they announce that the teachers are going on strike?
So that game is like the first week of school, and we're like, all right, no worries. We're going to get back at Camel. Again, Camel's another team. We know a lot of kids on there. We played against them. Even some of the kids left from the west side and went there. Nate L. Hewlett, Mark Brisky, the Hamilton brothers. We're like, man, we got this. We're gonna go 9-1. This is our mindset now. And up until they had the strike, there was hope and optimism that they're not going to go on strike, because even coach was like, it's sounding good, don't worry about it, but until I tell you to worry about it. So the day before they were supposed to go on strike, and that had to be like a Wednesday. It's like a Wednesday. We're still practicing, but that Wednesday he tells us, take all your equipment home, just let's hope, but if not, you got your equipment. And he has a conversation with us. I still expect y'all to practice. I expect y'all to go down to, Rocky Ridge and, run some plays and do what y'all got to do. But that Wednesday came, that Thursday morning, we woke up, man, and you just watching the news. It's like Youngstown schools are on strike. And this is when we had just got that new superintendent, Alfred Tutela, and the school board didn't like him. The teachers union didn't like him. They busted out this dude's windows with rocks. Like, they ran him up out of there quick, but they didn't want to bend to the things that he was trying to implement and bring in, which 10, 15 years later, they had to do it anyway, but he was trying to do this then. But, we hear going on strike, we're making calls like, what we're going to do? All right, well, we ain't going to practice Thursday. Friday, look, we end up going to other people's games, watch our friends play because we're not playing. And then that next week after, coach reached out to us and like, hey, you guys got to be at Rocky Ridge at 4. And we go to Rocky Ridge and practice. A couple of the coaches who weren't teachers, they would sit at the top of the hill while Burtis and them would sit in their car and they'd call plays, 28 sweep, run kick cover, run punt cover. And we did that. We lost that game to with Camel, and we were out of school from then till like beginning of October, end of September, beginning of October. Yep. The last week of September, we came back. They came back.
So you end up playing only 7 games.
No, 8.
Year.
No. 6.
So I got you playing Fitch,
East, yeah.
Boardman.
Yep.
The only 2 teams you lose to is Fitch and Boardman.
Yes.
Niles,
yes.
Howland, Rand,
yes.
Wilson, and then Orville.
Reverse it. Orville.
Well, maybe not in that
Howland.
order, but
yeah. But yes, that's how it ended up.
Yeah. So, and we've talked multiple times about this, like, 87 Ron's first year, there's a teacher strike. This year, there's a teacher strike, right? 96, 98, somewhere in there, there's another teacher strike. Like, that is
ridiculous.
I mean, yeah, that's so, not only the things that you're dealing with as a player, not only things you're dealing with as a coach, the preparing, the school, everything. And then, like you said, you used the word looming, what was looming in the background. Like, that's so difficult to navigate through and then get some momentum back. And the last thought I was talking about, you think about this. So you guys, when is the biggest growth that you see in your football team?
The Boardman game. The
right?
Boardman
But
game.
from that week one
Oh yeah.
to week 2, right?
Boardman.
Like that
Yeah.
week 1 to week 2 is when you see your guys get better.
Yeah.
You go week 1 to week like 5,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
and
So our
everybody's
first
getting
game
better.
back is our first game back is East, but
Yeah.
East is an easier deal because both of us have been going through the same thing. You know, everybody's conditioning is shot. You know, some players came back, some players didn't come back after the strike. You know, because parents moved them to other districts. You know, they lost their mind, like forget this, I ain't even waiting around for this. You know, so. Even coming back to East, we had new people starting in different positions because we didn't get some players back. But East allowed us to just get our feet wet and, you know, run our basic plays and get us acclimated back to hitting pretty much. But that next week after when we played Boardman, it happened to be one of them hot Fridays in early October. I mean, everybody on our team had cramps. And, you know, not only do we lose the game, you know, we lose 7-6, but how we lost, you know, we're at like the 1 yard line and Ronnie Warga jumps over to Powell with the ball and somebody knocks it out of his hands because we're going to win this. Like they couldn't stop me running. They couldn't stop John Cook. They couldn't stop Warga's passes to Dom and to Kimani. You know, they couldn't stop us. But the cramps were killing us. Like, you know, I get a sweep and I'm gone. Legs lock up, like boom, just fall out. Like, I'm screaming. Like, you're just, that strike destroyed what could have been another playoff contending team for Coach Burgess. And, you know, the only benefit was, you know, the city teams that we had to play, they went through it too. And by the time we got to the back end of our schedule, we were back in condition when we played Niles and Howland and Orville and Wilson and these. And, you know, Wilson was the last game. And that was like our playoff game. That was going to be our playoff game because South had closed and everybody from South who was a good player went to Wilson. And we got nobody. We got all the girls. We got all the girls at school, but they got all the athletes.